series in the book of James. And of course, I was really excited right out of the gates about that because because you've been living in this book all summer, that it's an incredibly accessible book, a very applicable book of the Bible. I'm seeing a lot of young people in the room. I hope you've already been encouraged that as you pick up the Bible, if you don't have a lot of experience with it, James is such a good place to start. One of my high school boys is reading James right now because it's accessible. It's applicable right out of the gates. And like the video that played before me with that cool car says, it helps us to drive our faith. So when Pastor Ryan reached out and said, we'll be preaching in the book of James, I immediately asked him this favor. I said, if we're going to be in the book of James, may I please preach on my favorite word from the book of James? Because yes, I do have a favorite word from the book of James. I think it was one of James' favorite words. And I really hope and believe that by the time we are done together this morning, it's going to be one of your new favorite words. So what is that word? I'm glad you asked. It is the word hupomeno. Hupomeno. This is a Greek word. That's what these letters are beneath it. James's letter was written in the Greek language. Hupomeno. I think you kind of want to say it, don't you? Let's do it. Ready? Hupomeno. Again, hupomeno. And now to get it into your bones. One more time. Hupomeno. All right. Now that we have chanted it together, what does it mean? Hupomeno means to endure, to persevere, to remain steadfast, to endure, to persevere, to remain steadfast. Let me ask you this morning, as you look at the world around you right now, as you kind of feel everything that's happening in the world around us right now, you do not need a guest preacher to come in here and tell you that we are living in interesting times. We are living through a bizarre age. I see some of you nodding. We are living in a time, you don't need me to tell you, that is extremely polarized, so divided, massive distrust going on in our society. It is a fractured time, and it's a time when the people around us and even ourselves are experiencing a really high level of fragility. There's just a fragility in our culture right now. And so don't you think we could use a few more people out there in our communities, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, in our families, even in our churches, who have the capacity to endure, to persevere, to remain steadfast, to hupomeno. So that's the world out there, but how about the world in here? How about the world in here? I don't have the privilege of knowing you and all of your stories as I do as a pastor in my own church, but I can assume that you walked into the room this morning. Maybe you didn't feel like coming to church today, but you came, and you came in carrying your story. We all do. I carried mine in with me this morning too, when the worship leaders referenced that. And the reality is every single one of us has a situation going on in our lives right now. It might be physical, it might be emotional, it might be mental, it might be relational. Often it's relational, it could be vocational, but whatever it is, you've got a situation that you are carrying that might be making it kind of tough right now for you to endure, to persevere, to remain steadfast. And so I think about how kind the Lord is to have led you here today and put you in the chair that you are sitting in so that he can give you the gift of this word, hupomeno. It is something that James very much wanted for the people of God. Remember, Jesus is his big brother, so as people are following Jesus, James wants this for them. He's writing this letter. He uses this word multiple times. He wants this for followers of Jesus then. And I really believe that God wants to grow this in us as followers of Jesus today. And so James uses this word 3 times. I told you it's one of his favorite words. In this short letter, he uses it 3 times. We're going to look at all 3. We're going to dive deeply into the first one that is found toward the very beginning of his letter. So if you have a Bible with you, and I see that some of you do, open it up to James chapter 1. Otherwise, we'll be interacting with this passage up on the screen. So the first place that James uses this word, hupomeno, is in James 1, verses 2 to 4. And this is what he says. And by the way, I do want to recognize you studied this passage together a few weeks ago. Pastor Ryan preached on it. In fact, getting ready for this message, I listened to that one. I'm originally from Seattle. I was out there visiting my family. I had AirPods in. I was running, looking at the mountains, not to like make you feel bad or anything, but there were mountains. And I was out there and I was really enjoying it, and I was listening to this message, and it just really blessed my heart. You have a wonderful pastor in Pastor Ryan. I think you have several good pastors around here, but his is the message I listened to on this passage. So some of it will be review, but we're really going to focus in on James's favorite word. All right, so James says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. So the highlighted places where there's the word perseverance, you have likely guessed, is the Greek word that we're talking about this morning, hupomeno. So let's just see it in context. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know the testing of your faith produces hupomeno. And the next slide, let hupomeno finish its work so you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. So James builds these verses, this part of his letter that he's writing, to be able to encourage Christians and teach them how to be people who can endure, persevere, remain steadfast. And he teaches them in these couple of verses. So we're going to pull it apart. And James begins with this encouragement. Consider it what? Pure joy. Pure joy. When you look at that in the original language, I mean, that's truly what he means. He means nothing but joy. Not joy plus anything. Only joy. Like if there was a glass of, clear water, we know what pure water looks like. There's nothing else in it except joy. Only joy. Whenever you face trials of many kinds. And I'm grateful that he kind of casts the net wide with that. These verses count when you're going through anything hard, trials of any kind, trials of many kinds, because we do go through trials of many kinds, and that's why this word can echo through time. I would remind you that when James originally wrote this, he was writing it to Christians. Most of them had been Jewish before. They have come to faith in Jesus, and now they're being persecuted, like big time. Like persecuted so hardcore, like they're going to be thrown in jail. They could be thrown to the lions. They're going to be arrested. Whatever they're going to face would be so difficult that they have fled Jerusalem. So they've left their homes and they're scattered all over. And that's who this letter is written to. People who are really in the thick of it. Like they don't even have a house probably right now. So he says, that counts. That's one of the trials. But he says this applies to trials of any kinds. And as I look out over this crowd this morning, I know we have a whole lot of trials of many kinds, any kinds that are going on. And this helped me when I studied it, to see that when he writes, when you fall into troubles of many kinds, how that actually is better, when he says you face trials, how that's actually better translated is fall into trials. When you fall into trials of many kinds, that has kind of a sense about it of like, it just happened to me. Like I was just going about my life, I was doing well, and now all of a sudden, I'm inside of a trial. There's actually only two other places in the New Testament where this phrase is used. The first is when Jesus is talking to people, and somebody asks him, Jesus, what does it mean to be a neighbor to someone? And he tells them the story of the Good Samaritan. And he says, there was a man who was walking on the trail from Jerusalem to Jericho. And as he was walking along, he fell into the hands of robbers. Remember this story? If you know this story, robbers come in, they beat him up, they just knock him to the ground, they leave him unconscious, they take all of his stuff. And then Jesus tells the story, two people went past him, but the Good Samaritan is the one who stopped and helped. But that guy who's just walking along the road falls into the hands of robbers. He was not expecting that. The other place that this phrase is used in the New Testament is about Paul. Paul had all these missionary journeys, and the one where he's on a ship on his way to Rome. He thinks he's on his way to Rome. They're sailing, but this giant storm comes up. You might remember this story, and they fall into a sandbar. They run into a sandbar. And so instead of going to Rome, they end up being on the island of Malta. And God has some work for them there, but that happens in our lives. It happens in our lives when we're just going about, we're walking down the path and we fall into the hands of robbers. We are thinking we're going that way and something terrible happens or something unexpected happens and now I'm in a new place. This happens in our lives. This actually happened in my life recently. We all carry our stories. And this actually happened to my husband. But if you're married, you know that what happens to your spouse, you go through it too, right? So my husband recently ruptured his Achilles tendon. Whew. Has anybody else been through that in the room? Anybody? Nobody? Oh, just wait. Just wait. Okay, so you might want to know how it happened. Well, he was when we went to meet with the surgeon a few days after it happened and to hear about what his surgery would be like. When the surgeon walked in, his assumption, he said, you're 50 years old? Let me guess. Pickleball? Which is apparently the number one way you rupture your Achilles tendon now. So you thought you were playing pickleball just for fun and because it was safe. It's very dangerous. You could end up rupturing your Achilles, but that's not how Ryan did it. Ryan ruptured his Achilles playing golf. Yep. What? Okay, well, here's how it happened. Ryan was golfing with a group of pastors. They'd been up in the Brainerd area meeting and praying and planning and so forth. And on the last day, they went golfing. They got to golf 18 holes up in that area. Probably some of you have golfed there. I'm not a golfer, so forgive me that I'm going to not use the right terms sometimes when I'm telling this story. But Ryan said he had a marginal round of golf, except when he got to the 18th hole, he hit the drive of his life. I mean, just watched it go, sail just straight, down the fairway, I think it's called. Okay, so down there, and he's like, oh my gosh, that was a great hit. So then he gets a great hit. You don't call it a hit. What do you call it? A shot. Okay, so then he gets to his next one, and he hits the next one, and apparently that one goes really well. So this was a par 5, but he's now 12 feet from the hole. So if he hits it into the hole on this one, he will get what? An eagle. Some of you know. See, I didn't know what it was, but now I do. Okay. So he's like, I'm going to get the first eagle of my life. This would be the first eagle of his life. So he gathers all these pastors around him. He's like, you guys, if I sink this putt, I'm going to get the first eagle of my life. And I'll tell you what, if I sink it, I'm buying you all dinner. So now they are all like totally invested, right? So they're around him. They help him line it up. They all help him line it up. And sure enough, Ryan hits this putt and he gets his first eagle. I know you want to cheer for him. Go ahead. Okay. But then what happens is that he's so excited, he throws his golf club up in the air, and one of his pastor friends jumps up in the air to chest bump with him. Ryan jumps up in the air, chest bumps, and comes down with a ruptured Achilles. I know. It's like best moment of his life followed by the worst moment of his life. And this is what happens, right? There's a picture of him. Yeah, here it is, with all these pastors around him that took him to urgent care when he got his boot on. And actually, the update here is just a couple of weeks ago, he got really swollen in his leg. And some of you who work in the medical industry are like, oh no, yeah, he had blood clots in his leg that went up to his lungs, and he had a pulmonary embolism 3 weeks ago. It's my husband. So I'm glad he's alive. Mwah, mwah. Okay. Glad he's alive. But this is what happens. We can fall into troubles of many kinds. We have these ruptures. I mean, even if you just take that word, I think it's a powerful word to think about how this happens in our lives. We experience ruptures at work. We experience ruptures in our physical health in all sorts of ways. We experience ruptures in our relationships. I would just candidly tell you, I had a huge rupture in a friendship over the last couple of years that I just did not see coming. We can have ruptures in our families, in our extended families. We have just these ruptures of every kind, and it is a sense of just falling into trouble. Like, I didn't know I was going to be here. So when James says that happens to everybody, we fall into troubles of many kinds, but what is his instruction? He says, consider it pure joy. What? Does that sound crazy to anybody else? Like, oh, honey, I'm sorry about your Achilles, but pure joy. There's kind of a sense of it being like Pollyanna, like just put on your positivity hat or something. But it's so much deeper than that. If we will keep looking at what James has to say. So this is what he has to say. He says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces hupomeno. Right here, James he's writing to Jesus followers. He's writing to people of faith. And instead of him saying, let me tell you everything that you need to know, he actually leans on what they already know. He says, you've lived this before. You've been through this before. This is not your first rodeo. You have been through trials before, and you know how faithful God was then. I think about it, if I had a microphone and we had time, and I could go around and I could just say, hey, raise your hand if you've been through a trial in your life, but you've seen God be incredibly faithful. Anyone? I could go around. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead, do it. Raise your hands, sure. I didn't expect that. Oh, what a great audience you are. Okay, so I could go around and I could say, tell us the story. Tell us the story. Tell us the story. In Christian land, and in the Bible, we call this testimonies. Like we testify to these things. And there would be so many testimonies just in this room of people who could tell you, oh, I know how faithful God is in the midst of the trial. I know how faithful he is in the midst of this storm. So James says, what do you know? What you know is that the testing of your faith produces hupomeno. You know this. Every time. The testing of your faith produces hupomeno. We're going to talk about hupomeno in a moment. But notice that he says the testing of your faith. When we go through stuff, when we go through trials, everything gets tested. Everything gets tested. Our stamina gets tested. Maybe you're a leader in your company or your workplace is going through something hard, and so your leadership prowess is being tested. Maybe your wits are being tested, your skills, your smarts. Maybe it's relational, and so your relational capacity is being tested. Maybe you're going through emotional, mental stuff. Maybe you're in therapy right now. I hope that you are if you're dealing with some of that stuff. It's so good to look back at our traumas and all those things. So many good things to be tested. But James reminds this group of Christians that he's writing to, Jesus followers, when you go through hard things, when I go through hard things, really, my first question, my biggest question should be, do I trust God in this? Do I really believe what I say I believe? Do I really? As we've been worshiping this morning, just wonderful worship songs. You have a beautiful, wonderful worship team here that leads you. And the songs we sing, some of the stuff we sang about this morning was really profound. And when you're kind of just in a regular moment in life, it can kind of all go right past you. It's like you're singing it, you're mouthing it, and whatever. But when you're in the thick of it, you know what it feels like to hang on those words in worship, right? To have tears pouring down your face. It's I'm clinging to this. I'm clinging to this. And when we are in the midst of trials, that's our opportunity to really let our faith be tested. Do I really believe when Jesus says, lo, I am with you always? I am with you always. Do I really believe the proverb that says that if I will trust in the Lord with all my heart and not lean on my own understanding, if in all my ways I acknowledge him, he will make my path straight? Do I really believe that? Do I really believe Romans that says that God will work for the good in all things for those who love him? Do I believe that? When we are in the middle of the storm, when we are in the thick of the trial, it is our faith that is tested. And James, not Paul, but when James talks about this, he says, let it be tested because something incredible happens. So far, we've been looking at this verse in the NIV. I want us to see it, just this part of it, in the NLT. This is how he says it. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance, your hupomeno, has a chance to grow. So let it grow. Would you say that with me? Let it grow. Again, let it grow. Let it grow. Notice it doesn't say make it grow. It says let it grow. Let God do it. When you're in the middle of the trial, let your faith be tested. When your faith is tested, your hupomeno has a chance to grow. So let it grow. I was running, listening to the message, and so I couldn't see it, but I could picture Pastor Ryan up here. He apparently had a weight he was lifting the week that he preached on this passage, and I have a sophomore son who plays football for Rosemount High School. So all summer long, he's going to the gym every day. And every day, I swear, when he walks back through the door, he looks more and more like Hulk Hogan. God rest his soul, right? I think he just passed away. But my gosh, my son is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. These muscles, I can't even, he was this little boy, and now he's got these huge muscles. But that happens. That's what resistance training does, right? Resistance training builds muscles. So let it grow. And the muscle that we are building when we go through trials and we allow our faith to be tested is hupomeno. Hupomeno. So let it grow. Let it grow. Just so we can show off our muscles? Just so we can make people so impressed? No, there is these are some of my favorite words all over the Bible. You will see it. The words, so that. So many times in the Bible, it'll say, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, so that, and then you get to hear the result. So that we are going to let hupomeno finish its work so that you may be mature. Look at that goal. The goal is that you would be mature and complete. Mature. I will tell you, I am so tired of running into people's immaturity. Aren't you? Aren't you tired of it? Oh my goodness, running into people's emotional instability, their anger issues, oh my gosh, the keyboard warriors that just, let loose and say whatever they want on posts or in emails or whatever. Oh, I'm just so tired of running into other people's immaturity. But you know who else's immaturity I'm really tired of running into? My own. I'm so tired of running into my own fragility, my own overreactions, my own inability to be able to just see the big picture and ride it out. I want to be mature. I wonder if you feel this way. I hope you feel this way. I want to be mature. When trials happen, when hard things happen, I don't want to freak out. I don't want to find somebody else to blame or other situations to blame or circumstances. I want to be able to look at myself. I don't want to crawl in a hole. I don't want to throw a fit and quit. I don't want to do any of those things because those are things that immature people do. Immature people do those things. I want to be mature. I want to be the kind of person that other people can count on because I'm somebody who stays steady in the storm. I want to be somebody that God can count on, that God can trust, that he can say, Jen, you've done the work, you've gone through the trials, and you have trusted me. When your faith has been tested, you have trusted me. Now look at the places I can put you. God can put people who can hupomeno. He can put us in some really incredible, important situations because we have this capacity to hupomeno, because we know. And this is a word for Christians. Christians are in a weird moment right now. I could talk about that for a while. But I will tell you, I don't want the reputation of being somebody who's throwing a fit as a Christian. I don't want that to be what my voice sounds like in society or in a room. Christians, I believe, should be the tallest people in the room. Christians should be the steadiest in the storm. Christians should be the calmest inside of the chaos. That's who we get to be. That's who we get to be because we know. Let's look at just the last 3 words of these verses that James writes about hupomeno. Now he says, let hupomeno finish its work so you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Hear that. Not lacking anything. What could that feel like? What could that be like in our lives if we got there? To the point of not lacking anything. Success, I need it. No, I don't. I don't lack anything. Adoration and maybe fame, I need it. No, I don't. I don't lack anything. New stuff, a new purse, or Minnesotans, the new boat, or the new jet ski, or these water bottles that cost like way too much money. Way too much money. I don't need it. Beautiful skin, I don't need it. A perfect body, I don't need it. I don't lack anything. Oh, what a place of freedom that is. No wonder James begins his verse, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you are on your way to freedom. There's 2 more places that James uses this word. The next one is in James 1:12. And this is what he writes. He says, blessed is the one who perseveres, who hupomenos, under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. Blessed is the one who perseveres, who hupamenos under trial, because having stood the test, you will receive the crown of life. I know that some of you, not all of you, thank God, but we all take our turn, and some of you are having a really hard time just standing up on your feet right now. I will tell you, a couple months ago, I was there. It happens. We all take our turn. We were going through some stuff, Ryan's physical stuff, and there was some stuff going on at our church and some stuff going on in some friendships, and it just felt like we were kind of getting hit from every side. There were a number of ruptures that kind of happened all at once, and it was hard to stand up. Sometimes it is. But look at this promise, and I remember thinking, so many people have no idea what we're going through right now, and they have no idea how faithful we are trying to be. We are trying not to fight back. We are trying not to throw a fit and quit. We are trying to hupameno, but they don't all see it. And sometimes other people don't see it. They're not going to see it. But who sees it? The Lord sees it. The Lord sees it. And some of you today, I just want you to have a sense of the Lord putting that crown on your head. I see you. I see you. I see you in the middle of the trial. I see that you're being misunderstood. I see the physical stuff you're going through and you're trying to walk it out in faith. I see you, and let me put the crown of life on your head. You may not get it from man, but you're going to get it from the Lord. The Lord wants to put the crown of life on your head. And then the last time that James uses this wonderful word is toward the end of his letter. So it really is almost like a bookend. He starts with it and he ends with it. So in James chapter 5, this is what he says. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered, those who have hupamenoed. You have heard of Job's perseverance, and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. So he says, as you know, people of God, followers of my big brother Jesus, the people that we count as blessed, the people who we say, whoa, that's a person I respect. I would love for you to think about somebody in your life right now that you respect, that you honor, that you're like, man, someday I hope I can be more like him. I hope I can be more like her. Let me ask you, is that a person who you have seen hupameno? Right? Most of the time, we respect those people. We think, God, someday I hope I'm built like that. But the way they got there is by going through it. They've been through trials of many kinds. And in the midst of the trial, when their faith was tested, they stood firm. And now they have this capacity, and we see it in people, and we respect it, and we honor it. They have this capacity to hupameno. He brings up this Bible character. And, even if you don't know the Bible well, you've probably heard about Job. Job's kind of famous. Job is the one who had everything and lost it all. He lost his fortune, he lost his health, he lost his family, and he wasn't good about it all the time. Like, the book of Job is very real. He was a human about it. He threw a fit. But we remember him, James says. We remembered him because in the end, Job persevered. Job hupamenoed. And we got to see it. We get to see it. We got to see what the Lord finally brought about. We got to see that the Lord is full of compassion and mercy. We got to see it in Job's life. And again, I don't know this congregation, but as I look out over your faces, I know there are people in here who are Jobs. You are the kind of people, you've been through it. You've gone through the years. You've been through trials, and here you are standing firm. You are someone who has the capacity to endure, to persevere, and to remain steadfast. And we need you. We need you. We need you in society. We need you in our communities. We need you in our families, and we need you in this church. There are so many young people in this room who need you to hupameno. They need you to show them how. Because this is what is true. People who hupameno, those who hupameno, inspire others to do the same. Inspire others to do the same. So, let's see this word one last time, hupameno. When we started, and I had you chant it, you had no idea what it meant. But now I hope it's become one of your new favorite words. I hope that you'll sink it deep into your heart, into your mind, into your bones this week. One of the things I love about this church is that you're so committed at the end of your services to saying, basically, so what? What's my next step with this? It's easy to come to church and take notes and take it all in the hour, but why does it matter an hour from now? Why does what happened on Sunday matter on Monday? I like that you asked that question at the end of your services, and you think about, what is our next step? What's my next step? And I think that the next step for some of us in the room is going to be different than the people that are sitting around us. So let's just begin with these people who are right in the thick of it right now, right in the thick of a trial. I think the challenge for you, your next step is to change your mindset. I think the Lord led you here this morning to invite you to change your mindset. And this is not like some kind of positivity spin, like Pollyanna thing or some sort of self-help, like just change your mind. No, this is deeply rooted in what we've talked about today. You are going through something extremely hard, or even just a little bit hard. But you've been kind of thinking, oh, poor me, and oh, this is so hard, and I'm probably the only one, and I feel like God's abandoned me, and all the things. It doesn't mean you're complaining, it just means you're being human. But the Lord led you to church today to say, there's another way to think about this. There's another way to consider what you're going through. You can consider it the way you have been, or you could consider it pure joy. Because the testing of your faith is going to produce something really wonderful in your life. It's going to produce hupomeno. And when you have hupomeno, you get to be mature and complete, lacking nothing. So what if you brought that trial you're inside of right now? What if you brought it before the Lord and just put it before you instead of looking at it like, oh, instead wonder, have joy, consider it joy, what the Lord might do to use it. That could be your step. Others of you, the challenge is to stand in your faith. My sense is some of you have been going through trials and you've been relying on a lot of good things. Good things, again, they're not bad things, skills and leadership and emotional prowess and therapy and all these things that are very, very good. But I think the Lord wants you, and for some of you, I feel like you've been in a trial for a long time, and what he's calling you to do is worship through it. Worship through it. Pray through it. Get into the word again. Go through this trial in faith and see what the Lord does in your life. And then the last group, you know who you are. You have hupomeno. Doggone it, you've earned it. You've earned it from the stuff that you have gone through. But it's not just for you, it's for others. The world needs you. Our communities need you. This church needs you to remain steadfast. And so this week, I pray the Lord leads someone into your path who's feeling unsteady, who's falling apart, and that all you need to do is just hold still for them. Just be steady in the storm for them. What a gift you will be to those people. It has been such a joy to spend the morning with you at Riverway Church. May I just close in a word of prayer. Lord, we are so grateful for your word that is alive. It is active. It echoes through time and it meets our lives today. Thank you particularly for this word, hupomeno. We sink it into our hearts, we sink it into our bones, we sink it into our stories. And Lord, we consider it joy, the things that we are going through, because we can be expectant of how you're going to grow us, how you're going to mature us. We pray that this would be so in the powerful, beautiful, mighty name of Jesus. And all God's people said, amen.